Prologue. It's time to welcome Alhaitham back. He is the best Dendro DPS currently in the game, and he doesn't need much investment to deal huge amounts of damage and kill almost every enemy Genshin has to offer, while also being fun to play. So I really recommend getting him if you haven't yet. If you already did, this guide will teach you everything you need to know to build him properly and help you become as knowledgeable as him, well, at least when it comes to building. Chapter 1. Skills. Alhaitham's elemental skill teleports him forward, dealing Dendro damage to the opponent and forming a chisel light mirror. Remember this term because it will be used later. On hold, you can choose the direction of teleportation, which is really useful for exploration. If he possesses 0 mirrors when the skill is used, he will generate 2 mirrors instead of 1. His burst will create a field which will deal Dendro damage to opponents multiple times. If any chisel light mirrors exist when the burst is performed, they will get consumed and increase the damage dealt by the burst. 2 seconds after the burst is used, Alhaitham will regenerate 0 to 3 mirrors depending on how many mirrors have been consumed. If 0 mirrors gets consumed, he will gain 3 back. If 1 mirror gets consumed, he will gain 2 back, etc. Chisel Light Mirror is an Alhaitham exclusive mechanic. It provides him with Dendro infusion when at least 1 mirror exists. This effect can be overridden by different infusions. Additionally, when Alhaitham attacks opponents while the Dendro infusion is applied, the mirrors will unleash an attack called Projection Attack, which deals Dendro damage to opponents based on the number of existing mirrors. Only 3 mirrors can exist at the same time, and they will disappear over time or if you switch characters. What is important to acknowledge is that both his skill and burst damage scales of both attack and elemental mastery. His first passive causes 1 mirror to appear when his plunging or charged attack hits opponent with a cooldown of 12 seconds. His second passive increases his burst and projection attack damage by 0.1% of each point of his elemental mastery. His third passive gives him a 10% chance of receiving double the product when he crafts weapon ascension materials. Chapter 2. Constellations. Alhaitham's first constellation decreases his skill cooldown when a projection attack hits an opponent. Second constellation increases his elemental mastery by 50 when he creates a chisel light mirror with a max of 4 stacks. This can still be triggered when mirrors reach 3. Third and fifth constellations increase his skill and burst levels by 3 respectively. Fourth constellation provides you with 2 effects based on the amount of mirrors consumed and created after using his burst. Each consumed mirror will increase all party members' elemental mastery by 30, and each mirror granted will increase Alhaitham's Dendro damage by 10%. Sixth constellation grants you again with 2 effects. After using his burst, he will gain 3 mirrors back no matter how many mirrors have been consumed, and increase his crit rate by 10% and crit damage by 70% after obtaining another mirror after their number got maxed out. Chapter 3. Weapons. Alhaitham has some good weapon options that don't need you to break the bank in order to deal great damage. But if you already have some 5-star weapons, there is a high chance he will make use of them. So let's start from there. The obvious first placeholder is his signature, Light of Foliar Incision, providing you with a ton of crit damage, some crit rate, and some extra normal attack and elemental skill damage based on your elemental mastery. The next in line is Harange Pakufutsu, giving you crit rate and elemental damage bonus. If you want to benefit the most from this weapon, you need to use elemental skills of 2 other characters before using Alhaitham to obtain a buff called Wave Spike, increasing your normal attack damage. Wave Spike can stack twice. Another option is Mistsplitter Reforged, offering a decent amount of crit damage even if it's way less than his signature, and increased elemental damage bonus for every element, alongside an effect called Mistsplitter's Emblem, stacking up to 3 times and adding even more elemental damage bonus based on the amount of stacks you have. It is obtained when normal attack deals elemental damage, elemental burst is used, or energy is less than 100%. All of the variants have a different duration, so keep it in mind. Primordial Jade Cutter is next in the line. It is the best option when you struggle with crit rate because it grants you tons of it. Additionally, its passive increases your HP and your damage based on your max HP. Freedom Sworn also deserves its place on the list. It grants you with some additional elemental mastery, which is really good because of Alhaitham's elemental mastery scaling. The passive is also useful as it increases damage and normal, charged, and plunging attacks damage, with an additional attack increase for your whole team when the character wielding it causes 2 elemental reactions. Some other options are Splendor of Tranquil Waters, Uraku Misugiri, and the newest weapon Absolution. I wouldn't pull those especially for Alhaitham though, because while their crit damage substat is really useful, the passives are completely or almost completely useless. So if you have other options, it's better to stick to them. Leaving 5 stars behind, let's talk about 4 stars. The first option, Iron Sting, can be obtained by crafting. Its substat is Elemental Mastery and its passive increases all damage after dealing elemental damage up to 2 times. I would recommend this one for free-to players based on how easily it can be obtained. Next in line are both Battle Pass weapons. They both give you some additional crit rate. The Black Sword additionally increases your normal and charged attack damage and heals you based on your attack when those attacks score a crit hit. Wolf Fang increases elemental skill and burst damage, and furthermore increases your crit rate when sad attacks hit opponents. These effects can stack up to 4 times. Last amazing 4-star option is Siphos Moonlight, which can be obtained by wishing on featured weapon banners, so basically it's a limited 4-star. Similar to Iron Sting, its substat is Elemental Mastery. Its passive will trigger every 10 seconds, providing you with extra energy recharge based on your Elemental Mastery, with the rest of your characters getting a part of this buff. If you don't have any of those, you can also use one of the mentioned: Amenoma Kageuchi, Blackcleave Longsword, Kagotsurbe Ishin, the Ali Flash, and Tokabo Shigura, but honestly I would recommend just crafting Iron Sting. Honorable mentions go to Sapwood Blade, which has an amazing passive, but having energy recharge as substat, which isn't really needed for Alhaitham, and also 2 3-star weapons: Dark Iron Sword with Elemental Mastery substat and its passive increasing attack when electro-based reaction is performed, so keep in mind you need an electro character in your party for it to work, and Harbinger of Dawn with crit damage substat and passive increasing your crit rate when your HP is above 90%, so it's good to use a healer or a shielder to maximize the use of this weapon. Chapter 4: Artifacts. When you have your weapon ready, it's time to talk about artifacts. Alhaitham's gameplay is based on dendro damage and elemental reactions, so that's what we will be focusing on. That's why I'd recommend going for Elemental Mastery Sense if you don't have one, and Attack 1 will also do, dendro damage Goblet, and crit rate or crit damage Circlet, based off which one you need more. For sets, the first recommendation is Gilded Dreams, increasing your Elemental Mastery on a 2-piece, and 4-piece giving your Alhaitham buffs based on different characters in your party. After triggering an elemental reaction, his attack will be increased by 14% for every character of the same elemental type as him, and his Elemental Mastery by 50 for every character of a different elemental type. The next good set is Flower of Paradise Lost, again increasing Elemental Mastery on a 2-piece, and on a 4-piece increasing all dendro-related reaction damage Alhaitham triggers by 40%, and additionally increasing it by another 25% right after triggering any of the reactions. The second part can stop up to 4 times. You can also go with Deepwood Memories, but keep in mind the 4-piece set is worth it only when there is no other character using it in your team. And honestly speaking, I'd put it on a support character to be able to maximize your Alhaitham damage by using other, more DPS-like sets. If you don't have or don't feel like farming any of the aforementioned, you can use 2-piece Deepwood with 2-piece any Elemental Mastery set, or 2-piece of any Elemental Mastery sets. For lower AR players, Instructor, Berserker, or Martial Artist will do the trick. Chapter 5: Teams. Now that your build is ready, it's time to talk about the supports to increase your damage even more. As I said before, Alhaitham's main source of damage is elemental reactions, so when building your team, try focusing on them. The best teams would be Bloom or Hyper Bloom ones, so you will need Hydro characters for both, and for Hyper Bloom, Electro characters. For Hydro, I would recommend Shinshu, Yelan, Furina, Kokomi or Mona because of their quick and good Hydro application. If you're going for a Bloom team, you can also use Nilou, who is the best Bloom support. Fitting Electro characters would be Raiden, Yaemiko, Cookie or Fischl for the same reason as Hydros. You can also use an extra Dendro character, especially if they are using 4-piece Deepwood Memories. The best for this role are Nahida, Koli, Baiju and Yao Yao. Epilogue. Now with all that knowledge, you know how to make a perfect Alhaitham build. Let's end it with a usual lore fun fact. In the Archon quest, he never actually used the knowledge capsule. He was one of the 3 people to read the Akasha manual and alter the status signal of it. If you liked the video, please consider liking and subscribing to our channel to be up to date with our next guides. Also, feel free to leave any questions in the comments. Have a nice day and see you again, hopefully.